Hey everybody, this is TJR. A couple of days ago, I did an unboxing of the Black Sabbath Technical Ecstasy Anniversary box set on this channel. And this is the follow-up video where I do my review of the musical contents of that set. Now, before I start this review, I do want to read two comments from two different viewers here regarding this album. And then I want to respond to these comments, and my response might surprise some of you. So let me start here first with a comment from Pearl Jammer 07. He writes, "This is one of my least favorite Sabbath albums. The original CD release was mastered weird. The sound doesn't jump out of the speakers. It sounds very flat. With all of this said, the performance is good." Next, I'm going to read a comment from James Wilson. "You're the third YouTuber I follow who's bought and unboxed this box set in a video, and I'm blown away that the Technical Ecstasy box set is popular. I first got the LP in 1983, and I think I played it twice in full. I didn't even bother getting it on CD until I got the Black Sabbath, the Complete Albums 1970 to 1978 collection in 2014, and my opinion of the album didn't change much. I only played it right through once, yet I actually liked the next album, Never Say Die, a bit more this time. My review of Technical Ecstasy is one of the album's song titles. It's all right. I can't see fans really wanting a box set dedicated to this album. I'm surprised it's doing well." Now, here's my response. I have to agree with both of you. I really was never a fan of this album. It's not my least favorite Black Sabbath album, but it's very close. And I do agree that it sounds weird. There is just something wrong with how this album was mixed, in my opinion. I've always kind of felt that way. It just doesn't sound right. Each time, though, when I listened to Technical Ecstasy, I always felt puzzled. I felt that I should really like the album, but didn't. So when I found out that Technical Ecstasy was going to be the next Black Sabbath album to get the Super Deluxe treatment, I have to admit I was disappointed. But then I saw the words Steven Wilson Remix, and I became intrigued. Steven Wilson has been responsible for some astounding remixes, and perhaps he could help me hear this album in a whole new light, I thought to myself. What I didn't count on was that this anniversary box set actually gives us 3 versions of this album. There's Disc 1, which is a new 2021 remaster of the original stereo mix, and more on that in a moment. There's Disc 2, which is, of course, the Steven Wilson remix, which I mentioned earlier. Let me talk about that first. The Steven Wilson remix is hands down an improvement over the original stereo mix. It brings better separation to the individual instruments, so much so that it makes the original mix sound like mono by comparison. It brings out instruments that were buried in the original, and being able to hear these additional instruments does help improve the song's overall feel and groove for a majority of the tracks. And when I say this, I'm speaking particularly to the keyboard tracks. There are a good majority of this album's keyboard tracks that were extremely buried in the original mix. And by bringing these more out into the forefront, the Steven Wilson mix brings out a more progressive rock side of the album and even some brief moments of funk. Because of this remix, because of the Steven Wilson remix, Technical Ecstasy now feels more epic and at times feels more like a cross between Black Sabbath, Queen, and Styx. Now, Disc 3 was the real surprise. It is subtitled Outtakes and Alternate Mixes. But there's actually only really one outtake. The rest is all alternative mixes. But when you combine these all together, disc 3 gives us a completely different mix that is easier to enjoy than the original stereo mix. Now, these alternate mixes that comprise disc 3 are clearly early work in progress mixes. They feature much sparser arrangements, and Ozzy's vocals are dry, or at least dry in comparison to the final stereo mix. And there's almost little or no doubling of his vocals or any background vocals. But therein lies the beauty of these mixes. Everything is laid bare. One of the best examples is on the alternate mix of All Moving Parts Stand Still. This alternate mix version has a harmonica track at the opening that is nowhere to be heard on the final mix. It's not even buried. It's just simply not there on the original mix. Now, you would think that a single instrument, a harmonica, wouldn't make that much big of a difference, but it completely changes the feel of the song. Moving Parts also features a very funky Stevie Wonder style keyboard track that is there but is extremely buried in the original mix. Now, these keyboards are brought out more in the Steven Wilson mix, and they help improve the song. But the disc 3 version lays it bare so you hear it crystal clear. And when you hear this track in this way, along with all the other tracks on disc 3, I at least hear so much potential for what this album could have been. The same holds true for the album's opening track entitled Backstreet Kids. There are some very amazing and very Styx-like keyboard breaks at the 1.5 minute mark, or actually around 1 minute and 49 seconds, that are completely buried in the original mix. I mean, they're there, but they're so buried. You have to really listen for them. But here on disc 3, they are laid bare. And all throughout, once again, throughout this disc 3, there are all these keyboard tracks and other, I guess, effects tracks that just seemed too awesome to bury, yet were. I could give more examples on other tracks, but I think I'll just stop here and recommend that you explore it for yourself. As I contrasted and compared the Steven Wilson remix, this disc 3 set of alternate tracks, which I really do see it as an alternate mix, even though there are clearly just work in progress tracks, early work in progress tracks. I have to wonder what happened during the production of this album that facilitated it being mixed so poorly, and what facilitated the burying of these really nice keyboard tracks and textural musical tracks that could have elevated the recording versus giving us what we ended up getting, which was a very kind of flat sounding recording. I also have to wonder, when he was doing his remix, did Steven Wilson get the chance to hear these alternate mixes? Clearly he was given the original tracks to work with, and clearly he got to hear a lot of these keyboard parts, although I wonder, did he get to hear the harmonica that's only in this disc 3 version? I have to think that if he had, he might have suggested some slightly more radical changes to the actual new mix that he was doing. But I'm guessing that he probably was given the directive to enhance the album's original mix, but not to stray too far from it. In other words, don't remove or add anything that wasn't already part of the original. As for disc 1, which is the remaster, the new remaster of the original mix, I listened to it and I would describe it as superfluous. It's completely unnecessary. It doesn't really add that much to what was already a bad stereo mix. Moving forward, when I listen to Technical Ecstasy in the future, and I will be now, I will only listen to either the Steven Wilson remix or this disc 3 alternative mix, which has every track from the album with the exception of one. And that is, of course, the one track that Steven Wilson did not remix on this new edition, though it is included. And I'm referring to It's All Right, which is clearly listed in the credits as the original mono single. I'm not sure what the story is behind that. Perhaps the original stereo tracks don't exist anymore, and that's why it wasn't. Or perhaps Steven Wilson felt that nothing could be done to improve upon that. Who knows? But I will say that Steven Wilson, dealing with what he had, definitely improved this album, definitely made it sound better, and definitely has raised my opinion of the album. I always felt that there was a good album screaming to get out when I listened to Technical Ecstasy, and hearing his remix and this other disc with these early work in progress mixes have definitely proven to me that there is a good album. Technical Ecstasy is a good album, but it's just been screaming to get out. It's finally getting out. Now, with all that said, I will say that Technical Ecstasy is, in my opinion, no Master of Reality or Paranoid. It's not Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, or Sabotage either. But these two discs, disc 2 and 3 on the set here, both offer an improved and more enjoyable version of the album. This is definitely at times a kind of very weird Sabbath album, and that might be why these alternate mixes were abandoned. The alternate mix, while a much better representation of the songs and the recordings, might have come off at the time as being too weird or too different. And this might have frightened the band's label and maybe even the band members themselves. So it might have been mixed the way it was in order to make the album feel more like what would be considered a Black Sabbath album. And that's unfortunate. Now, I'm always very interested in album production. I'm always interested in looking behind the curtain. If you're not interested in album production, this set might not be for you. But I have to admit, from a production standpoint, the Black Sabbath Technical Ecstasy 50th Anniversary box set is one of the most interesting box sets that I have heard in a while. Oh, and as for that fourth disc of live tracks, they're really cool and well worth your time. That's all I'm going to say. Anyways, those are my thoughts on the Black Sabbath 50th Anniversary Technical Ecstasy set. Let me know your thoughts if you've had a chance to listen to not only, of course, the original album, but these other discs as well. As always, if you like what I'm doing here, be sure to click like, click subscribe, and smash that bell notification icon so you can know when I release new videos. I also want to thank my mighty and powerful patron supporters who are helping me to make not only more videos, but especially the deep dive videos. My next deep dive video is an exploration of the Who's rock opera Tommy. It's entitled 4 Versions of Tommy. And I hope you'll be checking that one out soon. Be looking for it. If you'd like to be a patron supporter, please go to patreon.com/TJRTheOriginal. And if you can't be a patron supporter, you can show your support by just clicking like and sharing these videos on your social media. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all stay safe and healthy.